Welcome back to the Abyss, my fellow horror enthusiasts. Tonight, we plunge into the unsettling world of deserted power grid facilities, those skeletal giants of steel and wire that stand forgotten in the landscape. 3 stories await us, each one a chilling testament to the fact that some places hold on to their power long after the lights go out. Our first story takes us deep into the Rust Belt, to a crumbling power plant left to decay after decades of faithful service. It's here we meet Mark, a seasoned engineer tasked with the unenviable job of assessing the structural integrity of the facility before its final decommission. Mark wasn't one for spooky stories. He dealt in facts, in the cold, hard reality of concrete and rebar. But as he stepped into the echoing silence of the plant's turbine hall, a shiver snaked down his spine. The air hung thick and heavy, thick with the metallic scent of rust and something else, something indefinable that set his teeth on edge. He started with the routine, his footsteps echoing in the cavernous space as he consulted the blueprints, his every exhale a ghostly plume in the frigid air. Each creak of metal, each groan of settling concrete sent shivers dancing down his spine. He told himself it was the cold, the natural decay of a structure long abandoned. But deep down, a primal fear began to stir. Days bled into nights, the silence of the plant pressing in on him, amplifying every sound. And then he saw it, a flicker of movement at the edge of his vision as he worked late one night, poring over blueprints in the eerie glow of his work lamp. He spun around, heart pounding, but found nothing. Dismissing it as a trick of the light, he went back to his work, but the feeling of being watched intensified. He could feel it now, a presence lurking just beyond his perception, its eyes boring into him. Then it happened again. This time a full-fledged apparition materialized before him, a man, tall and gaunt, dressed in a work uniform from a bygone era. The phantom engineer's face was obscured, shrouded in shadows, but his eyes burned with a cold, eerie light. Frozen in place, Mark watched as the spectral figure moved silently through the maze of machinery, his movements fluid, unnatural. The phantom engineer seemed to be inspecting the equipment, his spectral hands moving over valves and gauges as if checking their readings. He tried to rationalize it, to explain it away as a hallucination brought on by stress and fatigue. But deep down, he knew the truth. He was not alone. Mark never learned the phantom engineer's story, why he lingered in the decaying power plant, but the experience left an indelible mark on him, a chilling reminder that some places are best left undisturbed. Our next tale takes us to the sun-baked deserts of the Southwest, where a different kind of power grid facility stands abandoned. A vast solar energy farm, its once gleaming panels now caked in dust and sand. A group of urban explorers, drawn by the thrill of the forbidden and the allure of capturing the decay on camera, chose this site as their latest adventure. They were a diverse group: Jake, the seasoned veteran of countless explorations; Emily, the skeptic with a thirst for adventure; Ben, the tech whiz, his camera gear always at the ready; and Chloe, the quiet one, observant and intuitive. The sun beat down on them as they navigated the maze of dirt roads, the air thick with the silence of the desert. They finally reached their destination, the control center, a squat, concrete building that looked eerily out of place in the vast expanse of the desert. As they stepped inside, the air grew heavy, thick with the dust of ages. The control room was a time capsule, frozen in the moment it was abandoned. Banks of monitors flickered with static, their screens displaying faded data from a bygone era. Ben was immediately drawn to the vintage equipment, his fingers itching to explore the analog dials and switches. Emily, ever the skeptic, began documenting their findings, her camera clicking away in the stillness. Jake, ever cautious, scanned their surroundings, a sense of unease settling over him. Chloe, however, felt a cold shiver run down her spine the moment they stepped inside. She couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched, their every move scrutinized by unseen eyes. She voiced her concerns, but the others dismissed them as her imagination running wild. They spread out, exploring the control room, their voices echoing in the vast space. But as they ventured deeper, the atmosphere grew palpably colder. The air crackled with an unseen energy, raising goosebumps on their skin. Then the noises started. Faint at first, like whispers carried on the wind. They paused, listening intently, their hearts pounding in their chests. The whispers grew louder, morphing into distinct voices, speaking in languages they couldn't understand. Fear turned to panic as the control room seemed to come alive around them. Lights flickered erratically, casting grotesque shadows that danced on the walls. The vintage equipment, dormant for years, suddenly sprang to life, dials spinning, gauges fluctuating wildly. Ben, his camera forgotten, stumbled back, his face pale as he pointed to the security monitors. On one of the screens, a figure flickered into view, a man dressed in what appeared to be a lab coat, his face obscured by static. He stared directly at the camera, a look of malice twisting his features. Our final tale takes us to the desolate plains of the Midwest, where a sprawling wind farm stretches across the landscape, its towering turbines casting long, eerie shadows across the barren ground. Thomas, a stoic security guard nearing retirement, had seen his fair share of strange occurrences during his years patrolling the isolated wind farm. He'd always dismissed them as tricks of the wind, the vast emptiness playing games on his mind. But tonight was different. The wind howled like a banshee, its mournful cries echoing across the plains, whipping at the walls of his small security shack. The wind turbines groaned and creaked, their massive blades slicing through the air, casting an eerie, strobe-like effect across the desolate landscape. He was alone, his only companions the flickering static of the security monitors and the incessant howling of the wind. It was during one of his routine checks of the security footage that he noticed something peculiar. A figure, barely discernible in the grainy footage, moved across the screen. It appeared to be a worker, clad in the standard-issue coveralls and hard hat, heading towards one of the turbines. Odd, Thomas thought, there shouldn't be anyone out there at this hour. He zoomed in on the figure, his brow furrowed in concentration. He watched as the worker reached the base of the turbine and vanished. One moment he was there, the next he was gone, as if swallowed whole by the earth itself. Thomas rubbed his eyes, convinced it was a trick of the flickering monitor. He rewound the footage, played it back. Each time the result was the same. The worker, clear as day, simply vanished into thin air. A shiver snaked down his spine as a cold dread settled in the pit of his stomach. He couldn't shake off the feeling that something was terribly wrong. Armed with a flashlight and a growing sense of unease, Thomas ventured out into the wind-whipped darkness. The air was thick with the whirring of the turbine blades and the unsettling feeling that he was being watched. He reached the turbine where the worker had disappeared, his flashlight beam dancing across the metal base. As he circled the turbine, his heart pounded in his chest. He scanned the ground, looking for any sign of the missing worker, but found nothing. Frustrated, he leaned against the base of the turbine, the cold metal sending a chill through his work jacket. That's when he heard it, a faint scratching sound coming from inside the turbine itself. He pressed his ear against the cold metal, listening intently. The scratching grew louder, more insistent, accompanied by a low, guttural moan that sent shivers down his spine. Terror lent him strength he didn't know he possessed. He raced back to his shack, his mind racing with horrifying possibilities. Frantically, he searched through old logbooks, maintenance records, anything that could explain what he had witnessed. And there you have it. Another descent into the darkness, another glimpse into the terrifying reality that lurks just beyond our perception. If you enjoyed these tales of terror, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more spine-chilling content. Until next time, my fellow horror enthusiasts, stay safe, stay scared, and remember, the darkness is always listening.